My friends, I just pressed the let's go live button. So that means we've got to wait for the stream to fire up all across the fruited plain of the internet before we go ahead and get started on this lovely Labor Day Monday. It's very nice to see everybody in the house. We're getting out here a little early, and it looks like the tubes are connected on the Rumbles, the Locals, the YouTubes, the X, and so we can go ahead and get started. So let's do it, shall we? Oh, forgot the drums. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live, the show that spotlights misconduct involving police, prosecutors, and politicians. My name is Robert Gouveia. I am a criminal defense attorney, and today we are talking about Big Fani Willis, the biggest Fani in Georgia. Of course, she's the DA out of Fulton County, pretty big county there. And so Big Fani, there's some rumors now that she might be hiding exculpatory evidence. And my opinion is that she probably is a very likely case because she is on a political vendetta. She's got an axe to grind. And so she's going after Trump. And I want to go through this because there was a new report from the Washington something or other, the Federalist is what I meant to say. There's this new report from the Federalist saying that they got their hands on a transcript, and the transcript is telling us that there was a meeting that took place between Georgia's alternate electors, and in that meeting, before all of this happened, before all these charges came down and so on and so forth, the Georgia alternate electors were saying, hey, we've got legal precedent upon which to base our action here, and it is literally the 1960 election where the Democrats in Hawaii submitted their alternate electors as a placeholder, and then they actually were successful. Okay, so like they actually won, right? They lost the case, they lost the election in Hawaii. The Democrats, they had JFK, and so they lost, and then they submitted their alternate electors, and then when they did a recount, they ultimately won, and so they kind of just held it in place. Exactly what the Trump alternate electors in Georgia were doing, but there was an actual transcript where they had this conversation, and they referenced the 1960 alternate electors plan, and this all should have been, if it is not already, in the hands of Big Fani Willis. And so we're asking ourselves, man, this is pretty incredible, because that just goes to negate their intent, right? This doesn't mean that they were trying to usurp an election in a conspiratorial racketeering case. That's insane. This was all regular stuff. They have a transcript of the meeting, for crying out loud, right? The criminals are memorializing their felonies in transcripts with official reporters. Give me a break. All right, so we're going to go through all of that. Transcripts, not too long, but we'll see what is inside. Then we've got another report. This one came over from AmericaFirstLegal.org, and they've been doing some great work on this. But they got their hands on 1,000 emails from the White House and the Office of the Vice Presidency and some other places. And what we're finding is that Hunter's people, the Biden crime family associates, Eric Sherwin and all these others, they were sending emails over to the White House, the Office of the Vice President, when Joe Biden was in there, and they were asking for favors. And one of these things was a big favor for Hunter. Look at that here. The big favor for Hunter email. Well, that's curious. I mean, I don't know what a big favor would be, like friends, like talking about the weather or something like that. And this is from Katie Dodge, Rosemont Seneca Partners. Now we'll get into it. It's no, it's not like the big favor is not like smuggle nuclear codes for Ukraine or something like that. But it is, right? This is all about influence and access. And so we'll go through it. And Joe said that there was none of this going on. So we'll see exactly what's inside. We've got a couple clips from Jason Smith. He's on the House Ways and Means Committee. He's explaining that, the government shutdown might be happening here in September, which of course it's not going to happen because this never happens. And if that did happen, though, it would shut down the investigations that are being brought by the Republicans, by the House Ways and Means Committee. Hey, we're looking into Hunter, but if you take away our money, we're not going to be able to look into Hunter anymore. And so we're going to see this, new talking point from the Republicans. You want us to investigate or pretend to investigate Hunter. You want us to send letters and stuff, don't you? Well, you better open up the government then. You better give us the money. So this will be interesting because last week we talked about Marjorie Taylor Greene, and she said, no, we're not budging on anything, right? Unless Ukraine's defunded and unless everything I want gets done. In other words, I'm not agreeing to anything. So we'll see what happens with the House. Representative Comer, he was out over the weekend, and he's also going to give us an update. He's expecting testimony soon says that all of these people are going to be brought in front of the Oversight Committee at some point in time, and we'll see some updates from Congress to see if they actually do anything. Then we'll wrap it up, my friends. And I know, I don't want to sound like a broken record here talking about this removal from the ballot thing, but I'm really concerned about it. Like, I really think it's going to be a thing. And I know that sounds insane, but rewind the clock 2 years ago, so did 4 indictments, for crying out loud. And here we are. These people are nuts. And so we're going to check in with Representative Adam Schiff, who, by the way, did you know that guy got censured? I mean, like, only a handful of people in America have ever been censured. Adam Schiff's one of them. I know that means he's a total loser, and we really shouldn't think about or care about him at all. But we are going to listen to a clip of him today because he, according to the Democrats, he's a number one guy over there. And he wants Trump removed. And he's running for Senate, or will be running for Senate. And he's, they all love him there and the blue team for whatever reason. Maybe it's his neck. But he says that Trump needs to be removed off the ballot, and he's just one of many, right? There's a chorus now starting to materialize. We also had a Senator Tim Kaine who is on this, and it's going down to the secretaries of state, okay? The people who actually move the gears, who actually adjust the levers, like Jocelyn Benson, are out talking about this. She was on whatever network we'll check in with. And she was explaining that, there's some pretty good arguments about that whole 14th Amendment thing and the insurrection and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going, oh, gosh, it's like deja vu. I can't even take it, man. Because we were here talking about Jocelyn Benson in 2020 when she was doing, she wasn't out actually this front stage, but she was very involved. And Michigan was a difficult state for us the last election. And we covered litigation from her. People were suing her. They were suing her. The Democrats were suing her. Like, the Democrats were suing their friendlies. And then the friendlies would then just, settle these cases, and they would move all the election rules around. So she was a big part of what happened in Michigan. And she's back on the field again. And she's, doing the media circus thing. And we talked about this last week. All right, I better save some for the segment. All right, enough. Now, Donna Brazil is also out today, and she's recognizing a good observation. She's saying there's something happening here, my friends. All right, this whole Trump thing's kind of a movement, kind of making them a little bit nervous, quivering in their boots. And so we'll go into all of that and see exactly what is in store in all of the various segments today as we join in on this lovely, lovely Monday. It is a beautiful Labor Day. I hope you're having an amazing weekend and week. We would love it if you joined us. Our locals community, we had an awesome movie night. That was on the Saturday. That was 2 days ago. A lot of fun. And we talked about V for Vendetta. So if you missed that, if you're a member, you can certainly go check that out. If you got nothing to do today, you can watch V for Vendetta and then go check out the movie night. It was a lot of fun. So shout out to our members and everybody who joined us. Thank you guys for making it an insightful evening and very, very fun. If you want to join us, watchingthewatchers.locals.com is the place you can do that. You can also join up over on YouTube, and we try to really deliver for our members, do extra content in the mornings during the week, do Saturday shows, do movie nights and stuff like that. So come and join us. We've also got our new website, robertgovea.com, where you can go here. If you want to get all of the news summarized and delivered to your inbox, you can just click here, sign up for our free newsletter. That'll be sent in to you every single morning. Or if you just want to come here and just click the reports tab, you can read through the reports, see exactly what we are covering, what's going on. And so you can see we post all of our stories. Where did the $4.6 trillion in COVID relief go? That's a good question. Yeah, we covered that on Saturday, I believe. So there's just a lot of stuff here. robertgovea.com. Check it out. Sign up for our newsletter. Would love to see you over there and have you join in on the work that we're doing. Also, we've got to be healthy. Now, look, I know it's Labor Day, okay? So you might be at a barbecue, or you might be out, having some of those ribs or potatoes or hamburgers or bacon. I mean, there's probably gobs of bacon going out there. That's all good. Let's balance it, though, with a little bit of Field of Greens, because we all would like to lose some of those leftover pandemic pounds. But how sick are you of all the ads for the weight loss pills and the fat diets? We've all been there and we've all done that. But They just don't work. But you know what does? Eating 5 healthy servings of fruits and vegetables every day. And I had a great dinner with my friend Jeevers yesterday. And Jeevers, we released some of the videos yesterday from our interview. Man, and he had this great idea for eating vegetables. He doesn't eat by the number of, he doesn't really count them. He goes by colors. Okay, so he just goes and shops. He wants a red one, a green one, an orange one, purple one, and he just mixes them all up, right? It's a lot of work. So look, I know you've been there, you've done that. It's just a lot, but you don't have to do that all the time. You can just simplify it. Let's talk about Field of Greens. Now, Field of Greens is a science-backed formula, very specific fruits and vegetables that you're not going to find in any other product. Proper nutrition reboots your metabolism so you burn calories faster and lose weight a healthier way. And Field of Greens is the only brand backed by a better health promise. Yes, you're going to look and feel healthier fast, but the greater proof is going to come at your next checkup when your doctor says, wow, you've lost weight. Whatever you're doing, keep it up. So let's get you started. Go on over to fieldofgreens.com. Make sure you enter in code Robert at checkout so you save 15% off when you check out. And remember, the vegetables want to be eaten. That's why they're here. They're delicious, they're nutritious, and they deserve to be eaten. All right. And so, my friends, let's get into it. Big Fani Willis in Georgia might be sitting on some evidence, and we have questions about this because a new transcript was just released that seems to imply that she knew that the alternate electors that have been charged with crimes are not actually guilty because they didn't have any intentionality behind the crimes alleged. In other words, they were doing things that were legal based on prior precedent, and Fani knows that. She's charging them anyways. This is based on the 1960 alternate electors that were used by the Democrats in the state of Hawaii. And so the new plan by the alternate electors in 2020 was based upon that, and they communicated that before all of this charging even happened, which begs the question, why did Fani bring the charges in the first place? This case involves David Schaefer, another co-defendant. We know Trump's being prosecuted with 18 other co-defendants. And before we take a look at the actual transcripts, here is some background on what is going on. This comes over from the Federalist, and this is an exclusive. They say Big Fani Willis, who is the biggest DA in the state of Georgia, possesses evidence exonerating Georgia's alternate electors. And we're going to read through the transcripts here, of course, but a little bit of background here from Sean Fleetwood. He says, Big Fani does possess evidence that exonerates several Republicans in the legal crusade against Trump. In her indictment, she said that a bunch of people were involved in a conspiracy to overturn the 2020 election. She claimed that David Schaefer, who is a state senator from the state of Georgia, you see this guy right here, says that this guy and other alternate electors unlawfully, falsely held themselves out as duly elected and qualified electors, and saying that they did this intentionally, right? That's the legal term of art. Intentionally attempted to mislead figures like Mike Pence into believing that they were actually such officers. So saying that we're not placeholders, we are actually the actual ones, like just take ours over theirs, and that they're exercising that authority, which is different than what they did in Hawaii back in 1960, which is exactly what this was mirrored upon, as we'll see. However, among the documents that Willis obtained during her years-long investigation was a meeting transcript. Now, this is a transcript of a Georgia Republican electors' December 14, 2020 meeting. Federalists got a copy of this. It explicitly shows that the intent behind casting the alternate electors, and remember, this is before they counted the electoral ballots, right? This is before January 6th when Mike Pence was there. So none of this has even gone down yet. This is a transcript from a pre-J6 meeting. At the meeting, it shows the intent, what they were intending to do behind the purpose of alternate electors. And in it, they say the purpose was not to impersonate public officers, as Big Fani alleges, but to lawfully preserve Trump's legal challenge to the election results, just like the Democrats did in 1960. At the meeting's outset, Schaefer specifically noted how they were acting as Republican nominees for presidential elector, not duly elected and qualified electors. Republican nominees for the position of a presidential elector, but not the actual electors. Now, I know this is nuanced, so it's probably hard for Fani to figure it out. But let's see. It says President Trump has filed a contest to the certified returns. That contest is pending, has not been decided. And so, look, in order to preserve his rights, Trump, while all of this challenge is happening, it's important that the Republican nominees meet here today and cast their vote. So they give us some context. Schaefer and Trump filed a lawsuit against Raffensperger, alleging tens of thousands of illegal votes had been cast. Suit came after a recount requested by Trump. They deemed Biden the winner, and the recount prompted some lawsuits. December 14th arrives, the day on which the nominees are required by federal law to meet. Trump and Schaefer's lawsuit was still pending, right? All this stuff is still going on. So at that time, Georgia Republican nominees, including Schaefer, cast their votes for Trump while the states cast theirs. Then they jump into the meeting, and we'll jump over into the meeting. But I wanted to share with you, this is exactly the same thing that happened in Hawaii. This is the form of the Democratic electors from the election of 1960, state of Hawaii, the original documents. We, the undersigned electors of president and vice president, for the respective terms beginning on this day, one of our Lord, and so on, hereby certified and delivered to us by the executive of the state, having met and convened at the Capitol in Honolulu, in state and pursuance with the Constitution on this day in 1960. Look, we do hereby certify that being so assembled and organized, we proceeded to vote by ballot and balloted first for such president and then for such vice president, the distinct ballots. And we further certify the following are two distinct lists, one for the president, the other for vice president. Here's who we vote for. Hawaii, 3 electoral votes. Guess who they go for? John F. Kennedy. Now, at the time they signed this document, he did not win the state of Hawaii at the time they signed this. His vice president, LBJ, also wins, according to them. But that's not what actually happened. At the moment that these 3 people signed this, in witness hereof, done at the Capitol in the city of Honolulu, being the 1960 day, okay, they were the alternate electors. They mailed it in. We do hereby certify that the lists of all the votes in the state of Hawaii for president and of all the votes given for VP are contained herein, signed in by these 3 apparently felons, according to Big Fani Willis. And they actually mailed this in. Can you believe this? They mailed this into Washington, D.C. just like they did in 2020. Look at these stamps and everything. And they're saying this is, each one of these things was like an overt act by the alternate electors. They put it in an envelope. They typed something up, blah, blah, blah. And they mailed it in. And each one of those things is an overt act in furtherance. So this looks like it's pretty official. Now, if you read the history on this thing, we made a prior video about this, but this was all actually legitimate. These people were never investigated because they did the recount and they actually said, oh yeah, JFK did win Hawaii. So they just flipped it back over to the other side, which is exactly the point. Like the other side anchored in their position so that if the pendulum swings the other way, they're ready to go. And that's exactly what was happening in Georgia. And so this is the actual transcript, and we can see it here. This is the meeting, Electoral College of Georgia, meeting and transcribed 12/14/2020, before January 6th. And it's always strange to me when a RICO conspiracy is documented in court transcripts or meeting transcripts. Isn't that incredible? Here's what we see. This is about a meeting of the Electoral College of Georgia regarding Georgia's electoral votes for president and VP. Certified copy. Meeting took place December 14th, 12:05 p.m., Georgia State Capitol, Atlanta, Georgia. You got to imagine, Big Fani is a very competent person, very capable, definitely should be, qualified to be in her position, and she knows exactly what she's doing, and she's ready for a speedy trial, except she wants to change the rules for the defense if they ask for a speedy trial. But the point is, she is prepared for this, and so certainly she's done her homework, and she knows that there was a meeting of the Electoral College of Georgia, okay? She's investigating January 6th in a racketeering case. So the idea that she doesn't know about this is insane, right? Obviously, I would imagine she's got her hands on this. I don't know where this came from, but it's probably, from the defense. And look who is here representing the 2020 electors for Georgia, David Schiff, chairman, along with a bunch of other people, many of who have been charged with actual crimes here. Once again, documenting their crimes, their felonies, their RICO racketeering case in transcripts. We've also got lawyers here representing President Trump. We got Ray Smith from Smith and Liss is there. So they definitely know this meeting took place. Big Fani's, if she doesn't know about this, that's kind of misconduct, right? So the chairman, the man who's been charged here, he says, my name is David Schiff. I'm the chairman of the Georgia Republican Party. Hi, everybody. The hour of noon having arrived, it's my privilege to call to order this meeting of the Republican nominees for the Electoral College from the state of Georgia. Says the president, Trump, has filed a contest to the certified returns here. That contest is pending. It has not been decided or even heard by any judge with the authority to hear it. And so in order to, preserve his rights, it's important that the Republican nominees for presidential elector meet here today and cast their votes. Look at what he said. Nominees for presidential elector meet here today and cast their votes for the preservation of Trump's rights. Just like what the Democrats did in 1960. Incredible. From my observation, Schaffer says, 13 of the 16 nominees are present here. The first order of business is for the electors who are present to fill the 3 vacancies for those who are not present. Is there a motion here to elect these other people, Mark, Brad, and Bert? Ms. Fisher, I so move. Joseph says second. It's been moved and seconded that Mark, Brad, and Bert are now elected. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? Say aye. Aye. All right, ayes have it. Motion carries. We now have a full slate of 16 presidential electors. Man, a big bummer for those 3 people who got voted in. For Brad, Bert, and Mark. Now they're, hanging out with felons, Big Fani says. David says, I'm going to pause for a moment and just say that Pat Garland, one of our presidential electors, his wife died last week. Rest in peace, Miss Garland. And he is taking care of his family. All our hearts, obviously, all go out to him. So we're going to suspend for a moment while the paperwork is prepared to protect the new slate of effectors, and we're going to hang out for a minute. They take a short break. They're back 12:11 p.m. Chairman Schaefer's back on the record, says. All right. Is there any objection to Carolyn Fisher serving as the secretary of this meeting? All right, the chair hearing no objection, and Carolyn Fisher is now the secretary of this meeting. All right, Ms. Secretary, if you would please call the roll of the presidential electors, the future felons, according to Big Fani. Joseph Brandon, here. Ken Carroll, here. Vicky, here. Carolyn, here. David, here. John, here. No, I'm sorry. John's not here. I'm sorry. He was replaced. Sorry about that. He was substituted. Kathy, here. Daryl, here. David Schaefer, here. And so on. Everybody's here. Look at all these felons just announcing their criminal intention. A RICO act, a racketeering case on the record. Unbelievable. So the chairman says, I'm sorry, can I confer with you a moment? Okay, we got to elect one more. Robert, you need me to elect one more? He says, one of our presidential electors is no longer eligible because he registered to vote in another state to further his college studies. College. Is there a motion to elect John as a substitute? Yeah, I moved. Second. It's been moved. I seconded that John is going to be now an elector. John Downey is now a presidential Republican candidate for presidential elector. A candidate, right? Like a nominee. He is not the official elector, but he is a candidate for it consistently throughout this whole thing. And he's present? Yes, sir. Chairman David says, all right. And so all 16 are present, and we're going to conduct the voting momentarily here. Ray Smith is a lawyer for President Trump. Do you wish to make any comments, Ray, the lawyer? Mr. Smith, Trump's attorney, says, yes, I would. We're conducting this, as Chairman Schaefer said, we're conducting this because the contest of the election in Georgia is ongoing at this time. And so we continue to contest the election of the electors in Georgia. And so we're going to conduct this in accordance with the Constitution of the United States. And we're going to conduct the electorate today. Look, similar to what happened in 1960 in Hawaii. Okay, that's Trump's lawyer. That's Trump's lawyer saying, hey, we're just going to follow what the Democrats did, literally. And they did it. This is the document. And Big Fani should know about that and this document and these people. And these people were not charged with felonies for any of this. So Trump's lawyer is communicating that on the record. And the chairman says, exactly, right? Because while something is pending, you still make your claim, okay? If you both are running a race past the finish line and you both think you won, both people declare I won until they get the photographic evidence and confirm it, right? Everybody says I won, I won, I won. They say you won, you did not. But both people claim it. You never go, oh, well, you won. I'll just default to you. I know it was close. I'm pretty sure I won. But since it's contested and since democracy, I'm just going to let you win. No, of course not. You hold it up until the end. You preserve your right. That's exactly what was happening here. So chairman is explaining that. He says, hey, and if we did not hold this meeting, Trump's lawyer, then our election contest would effectively be abandoned. That's correct. Is that not correct? That's correct, says Trump's lawyer. And so the chairman says, so the only way for us to have any judge consider the merits of our complaint, otherwise it's moot, right? If you're not preserving your record, if you're not preserving your claim, how can you fight to win? Judge is going to say, well, you don't even have your electors in place based on what the law says you need to have. So the thousands of people who we allege voted unlawfully is for us to have this meeting and permit the contest to continue. Is that not correct? The only way for any court to actually consider this, including the claim that thousands voted unlawfully, is to permit, we have to have this meeting to allow the contest to continue. Is that right, Mr. Trump's lawyer? That's correct. Yep, that's correct, Mr. Chairman. So Mr. Sinner says, okay, so Chairman Schaefer, yes, sir. I've got a John Isaacson here who replaced this other person, and he's being replaced, and this person's being replaced. Do you know who these people are if you saw them? Yeah. So how are you going to distribute the ballots one at a time? Okay, so I want to thank Carolyn Fisher for her service as the secretary of this meeting, says the chairman. Because the documents have been prepared with Sean, the prior guy, still listed as the secretary, I would like to avoid reprinting the documents and that there should be a motion to thank Carolyn Fisher for her service and to elect Sean Still as the proper secretary of the meeting. All right. So sorry, Carolyn, you're gone out of here. We already printed the documents with Sean's name on them. So Sean, you're the new secretary. Okay, so it moved second? Okay, it's all moved. Any discussion? Nope. The motion carries. Sean Still's elected. He's the permanent secretary of this meeting. Thank you, Carolyn. You did a great job here for the 5 minutes you were the secretary. Sean, please forward the documents over. Get the documents from Carolyn. Are the ballots around? Yeah, the ballots are individual. So what do you want me to do? You want me to call them out by name? Yeah, huh? So they're figuring out how to sign them. Call the name. Or they call all the names. They all walk up one at a time. Daryl, Kathy, Brad, Mark, David, Kay, another Mark. They all vote. Do we have 16 votes cast? 16 votes have been cast for Vice President Pence, and 16 have been cast for Vice President Trump. Congratulations. Is there any other business to come before this meeting? Hearing none, the chair declares this meeting of the Republican nominees for the Electoral College. Somebody's waving in the background. Hey, don't end it yet. Wait. Are you trying to get my attention? He says. Yes. We must complete some paperwork in private to certify. He says, okay, so we'll adjourn this meeting. And then if the electors would remain behind for a few minutes, we're going to complete the paperwork. Nothing else. The meeting of the electors is hereby adjourned. The meeting ends 12:31. Very short meeting. This transcript is certified by the court, the transcript reporter, and Hansen. Disclosure, according to the rules of the meeting. I'm certified court reporter, and we have an index of the conversation. All right, so these are people. Meeting of the Electoral College of Georgia. And it's a bunch of people, including an elected state senator from Georgia, right? These are people working for the party, having a business meeting to preserve their claim in the event that the count gets reversed, just like what happened in Hawaii. Now, they got charged with crimes. These people have not been charged with crimes because Big Fani Willis is hiding the exculpatory evidence. And I think that she knows about this. I think it's misconduct if she doesn't know about it. And so she must know about it. And the fact that the fact that she charged this in the first place is just crazy, because what we saw in that conversation was that they were not at any point in time saying, we know we lost and we're going to overturn the election, or that we are actually submitting these to replace the other actual electors. This was all regular business. They transcribed the whole thing because they were following the rules, just like the Democrats did. But Big Fanny's not interested in legitimate justice or above board prosecutions. She's much more interested in waging political warfare, and will continue to cover. All right, my friends. Gross from Big Fanny. Now, we got some other documents to attend to here, and these involve Hunty and the Biden crime family. And here's what we see. New emails show that Hunter's team asked for a big favor from VP Joe Biden. And this was all about access. Remember that Hunter allegedly was traveling around the world selling the Biden brand, and Devin Archer was somebody who communicated that scheme. But now new emails have come out from America First Legal, and they put together a nice summary of exactly what is happening here. They tell us that new Hunter Biden emails obtained by America First Legal from a lawsuit against the National Archives shows over 1,000 emails between Rosemont Seneca, which was one of Hunter's companies, and the Office of the Vice President. And we've had many conversations here about all of the mounds of evidence that exist connecting the two, and how none of Hunter's affairs would have ever happened but for Joe Biden. He would not have been able to do anything that he was doing but for his daddy and access to his daddy. But now we've got new details about how deep this went. We got America First. They got 3 more tranches of emails. They got 7 productions now that are posted on their website from the National Archives and their response to their lawsuit. We'll take a look at a couple of them. The documents show that there were a staggering number of emails between Rosemont Seneca, which is not a government entity, and the Office of the Vice President, revealing further evidence that there was no separation at all between Hunter's private business dealings and the official business of the Obama-Biden White House. Didn't exist. Rosemont Seneca frequently used the Biden name to gain access and favors from the White House. The documents also reveal further evidence of Hunter's influence in the official office of the Vice President. Hunter had the ability to direct correspondence, plan guest lists, look, for state dinners and receptions. You know how important that is? To go to a state dinner if you're an international business person? How valuable that is, what somebody would pay for that? And bring people into the White House at his discretion. This evidence further calls into question Joe Biden's claims he was never involved. So here we see that they say at americafirstlegal.org, Rosemont Seneca, one of the companies, was merely the private arm of the vice president. And we see here the sheer volume of emails exchanged between Hunter and his associates is telling. Since their last release, NARA has processed another 861 emails that were sent or received between January 2011 and December 2013, which, of course, that's when Joe is in the VP's office. Obama. Yeah. So this looks like it's a document from NARA. We've got 3 rows here. Segment 5, emails including the company name, Rosemont Seneca. So that's a batch from January 2011 to March 2011, April 2011 to May 2011, and July to December 2013. So 3 batches have come over, all containing the name Rosemont Seneca. 861 emails, Vice President's office, Hunter's company. Joe Biden said that they never talked about any of this stuff, or that they called and talked about the weather. So what are all these emails for? The vast majority of these emails consisted of direct communication between Rosemont Seneca employees, including Hunter Biden, and the office of the vice president. Contrary to Joe Biden's claims that, and we've heard this clip many times, that there's an absolute wall between the two. I absolutely never talked to him, just like I did with my son, Beau. The White House asserted executive privilege to withhold 200 emails in their entirety. Okay, so what we're going to go through, we're going to see there are some redactions in them, but they're also not giving them documents. They say that release of those 200 emails would disclose confidential advice between the president and his advisors or between such advisors. And so this is all of the justifications they use for hiding stuff. So they'll redact stuff, right? A1, usually we'll see the subsections listed. Or P1, national security, they'll redact it. P2, relating to the appointment of a federal office, redacted. Violate a federal statute, redacted. Disclose trade secrets, confidential information, presidential advice, or unwanted invasion of privacy. That's the A6 of the PRA. And we see that often a lot as a B6 on the FOIA stuff. Personal record, misfile, defined in accordance. Okay, so this is how they'll cover up some of the stuff in the actual emails. But this alone, it's like the media should just be outraged about this. Why is Hunter's company emailing the president, Karine, the vice president at the time? You said none of that happened at all. Emails obtained reveal the broad access that Hunter enjoyed to the official government channels while Daddy was VP. Below are just a few examples of how Hunter had free rein in directing the use of these government resources. Even though he had no official role in the Obama administration, the Obama-Biden administration, Hunter was intimately involved in planning for high-profile White House events, all of these different meetings. January 2011, China State Luncheon. Remember, he was doing business in China. And this looks like an email. Wow, okay. In accordance with the letter, this letter constitutes formal notice. This is a letter from the National Archives here, sent via email March 28, 2023. This letter constitutes a formal notice from the National Archives to the incumbent president of our intent to open Biden's presidential records in response to a FOIA request. This material, 197 emails, 9 electronic files, 405 textual pages, 209 images, has been reviewed for the 6 restrictive categories, including confidential communications, got that one, and federal appointments. These records were also reviewed for all exemptions. As a result of this review, 140 emails, 7 electronic files, 222 pages in whole, 11 email messages, 2 pages have been restricted. What are those restrictions? And look, these are, I would imagine these are not national security issues, because why would Rosemont Seneca and Hunter be involved in any of that type of stuff? That would be illegal. Therefore, NARA is proposing to open the remaining 46 messages, 2 files, 181 pages, 209 images, 11 emails, and 2 pages that do not require any other limits. We're also currently informing all of Joe Biden's representatives, all of his lawyers, Leonard, Garland, Remus, President Obama's representatives, Anita Breckenridge, Bob Bauer, Emily Blakemore, of our intent to release the records, and we'll release them later after that. If you have any questions about it, let us know. All right, so that's NARA restricting a bunch of this stuff because my privacy. So that's just one sample of this, okay? He's also apparently was working for the German Chancellor to set up the ceremony for the German Chancellor at the state meeting, UK, Turkey state luncheon 2013, state dinner in France 2014. Here's another document. It says this researcher submitted a FOIA request for this case number, 184 messages, 129 messages. Okay, so this first column is the total number of material that came in. This is the number of materials that were restricted, which is a huge portion. 129 emails redacted out of 184 total. In this one case, FOIA request case number. They'll file a FOIA request, open up a case, do the search for the scope of the inquiry, gather the materials, process it for restrictions, and then give them a summary. This researcher submitted a FOIA. The VP records to be opened are email messages from just a couple months. Look at that. It's just 2 months. January, February, March, depending on the dates, right? Maybe it's 3 months. That includes the company name Rosemont Seneca. So 184 messages, let's say from 3 months, from January to March 2011, and 184 of those emails, 129 of those are redacted. So it's a lot of emails, like 184 total over 3 months. There are emails from Amtrak's vice president and VP, Amtrak's VP requesting the Joe Biden attendance at his dedication ceremony at Wilmington Station, and emails from Hunter related to a request for VP's signature on a photograph. So Hunter's getting daddy's autographs to give to his friends. And that was just that one batch. Okay, so 184 emails over 3 months in the one batch. The vast majority of those are restricted. This next batch is from April to May. So that's, okay, but that's a full year. April 2011 to May 2012. So emails slowed down a little bit, much slower pace. 407 emails in that period, 235 messages in whole just gone. Can't even see them. Those messages include that Hunter Biden attended and requested tickets for guests. Oh, Hunter is getting tickets for guests to the White House Easter egg roll, and also got tickets to the state arrival ceremony for the Chancellor of the Federal Republic of Germany, Angela Merkel. Also guest list from 2009-2011, St. Patrick's Day, UK state dinner, state visit. And Hunter's palling around with a bunch of people here, right? Literally getting them access to dad. and sending emails, hundreds of emails. Email messages related to the UK state dinner, state visit also include biographies and seating assignments, event memoranda, Dr. Jill Biden's schedule for March. Also email messages from Hunter Biden's request for VP's signature on photographs and a request for a letter from President Biden for survivors of the Franklin. So that was another batch, right? That's one FOIA. We've got yet another one. This one's July 2012 to December 2013. All emails including Rosemont Seneca. 270 messages from that time. 153 of those gone in whole. Why? The researcher submitted a FOIA request. The email messages include guest lists for the Turkey State Luncheon, France State Dinner, Hunter Biden attended. Also emails related to Hunter Biden's selection to serve in the Navy Reserve, an invitation to Hunter to the Medal of Freedom ceremony. Messages include an external invitation for VP Biden to attend a UCLA event for Dr. Biden and to participate in the World Foods Program and so on. All right. Now, Hunter and his associates at Rosemont, they say they frequently use Biden to gain access to the White House. Here's just one email. On December 18, 2013, a lobbyist, a guy by the name of Doug Davenport, he reached out to Hunter's business partner. He says, oh man, who do I know? He calls Eric Sherwin. He says, hey, Eric, yo, you got any last minute Christmas tickets for the White House tour? I got this guy from Apple. Even those familiar with Rosemont Seneca knew that they could get this done. So here's the email. And we've got a redaction on this one. This says, Doug Davenport, on December 18, 2013, VP Joe's in office. Doug Davenport, he writes, his email is redacted. Hey guys, I'm in a bad spot. I have a guy from Apple who is dying to take his 4 colleagues on a regular White House tour, see the tree, etc. this Friday. I know it's way, way short notice, but I would owe you my life if you could tell me any way possible to get my hands on some public tour tickets for this Friday. Or am I just way out of line? This is from Doug Davenport, a lobbyist. Please consider the environment before printing this email. All right. So here's what they say. Hey, Doug, may be too late from a vetting purpose, but I'm copying Katie to see if it is all possible. This email comes from Eric Sherwin, Rosemont Seneca Partners. Eric Sherwin was like the businessman for the entire Biden crime family. I'm copying Katie to see if this is all possible. Katie, can you check with our friends over there? Our friends over there, in the White House. Can you check with our friends, Daddy? So Eric told Davenport that the only way a tour would be possible would be to get them to the front of the line. Eric responds, he says, yo, Doug, yes, you do need it for the public tour if they're going to the front of the line, which is the only way we can get it done. Rosemont Seneca says, they then directly contacted, look, Rosemont, Hunter's company, then contacted the office of the vice president to confirm the last-minute Christmas tour as a big favor to Hunter. As a big favor to Hunter. Oh! So here, this email sent Thursday, December 19th, 2023. Christmas is right around the corner. The kids are getting excited. This comes from Katie Dodge at Rosemont Seneca Partners. And it's a message to somebody named Kellen Suber. Forward, a Christmas miracle? Huh? How in the season? Katie says, this group of 5 will do the Saturday tour at 2, if you can get them in. They are the ones who are trying for tomorrow. Look at this. Big favor for Hunter. Big favor for Hunter. Oh, man, Hunter just cares about kids and their parents taking them on a jolly old tour of the White House. What a nice guy. When would you be able to confirm, says Katie. This is going to be a big favor for Hunter. We need to get it done, because Hunter's probably going to get paid some money for introducing this family, whoever they happen to be, and getting him on this tour. So on another occasion, Hunter asked specifically for a White House tour for his business associate at the Third Point. Hunter and his associate were invested with Third Point, a hedge fund founded by Democratic billionaire donor called Dan Loeb. Emails from the Hunter Biden laptop revealed that they were helping Dan and Third Point raise billions of dollars from China's sovereign wealth fund called CIC, right? So Hunter is literally in business with these people and then wants to get them access to the White House. And he does it by leaning on his daddy because he's got access to the White House. Here's the message and the email. It says the following. On June 14, 2013, Josh Targoff, down here, Chief Operating Officer, says, my daughter and her mother are going to D.C., redacted, on August 10th through 14th. Is there any chance they can see the White House while they're there? Let me know, and thanks in advance. Josh sends that over to Hunter. Can you send dates of the trip and the social security numbers and the date of birth? I'll try to set up a West Wing tour if it's possible. Robert Hunter Biden in 2013. Yeah, that's interesting, man. Daddy's got access to these guys. And this is just a business deal, and they're trying to go generate a bunch of money from the Chinese. Incredible. So if this is the stuff that's happening above board, this is the stuff that we can see that they'll actually release and send to us. And you can say, that's Rob. It's just, it's just an innocent old invitation. It's just his Apple buddy. And this is all just innocent stuff. Well, of course, I would point you to the other evidence, all of the other evidence that rebuts that, like 600 plus pages chronicling 400 different violations written by Marco Polo, USA.org, the Marco Polo crew, and Garrett Ziegler. There are mounds of evidence. And this is just the G-rated stuff, right? And this is just little access stuff. And access is very, very expensive. And Hunter knows that. Hunter frequently requested official correspondence from the office of the VP and involved his team as well. The Rosemont Seneca team, at Hunter's direction, reached out to the office of the Vice President Correspondence Director to obtain a letter for an associate. During this exchange, Hunter's assistant welcomes the new White House staffer to the team. Let's take a look at this one. This email from Hunter forwarded from Hunter to Katie Dodge at Rosemont Seneca, H. Biden to K. Dodge, and others. Hunter says, please remind me, please, to send to White House, where my daddy works. Let's see. Yes. Please remind me to send this to the White House, making sure I got these in order. So then Katie, 2 days later after that, says to Jillian Duty, copying Eric Sherwin, the Biden family business man. Katie says, hey, Jillian, hope you're having a great summer. Eric tells me that you have, quote, moved up in your job. Congratulations. Please see the request below. It is important to Hunter to have a letter written. Let me know if there was someone else I should send it to. She responds, hi, Katie. I've CC'd Carrie, the new correspondence director who can take care of this request for you. Talk to you soon. Thank you both. Welcome to the team, Carrie. Katie. Thanks, Katie. I'm happy to take care of this for you. Oh, you see what's going on here, don't you? So this is curious. Hi, Jillian. And I can't see what this email address is, which is why there's a little bit of a disconnect here. And I'm wondering if this is... Let's see what they said it was. The Rosemont Seneca team at Hunter's direction reached out to the vice president to get a letter for an associate. Hunter's assistant at Rosemont Seneca welcomes the new White House staffer to the team. Yeah, so I was trying to see who that Jillian person is. So we know certainly who Carrie is. So Jillian Duty gets the email. Hi, Jillian. Eric tells me you've moved up. Congrats. Let me know. Hunter wants a letter written. Jillian forwards it over to Carrie. Carrie now sends her letter, look at this, from her email back from the office of the vice presidency. So Carrie works for the vice president's office in the executive office of the presidency. And look what happens here. Katie from Rosemont Seneca says, welcome to the team, Carrie. Welcome to the team. What team? Katie, you work at Rosemont Seneca, obviously. Carrie works at the White House. Huh. So why are you saying welcome to the team? You work at two different places. That you don't work together, right? I think you don't work at two different places, totally. And so welcome to the team. And guess what? Carrie says, thanks, Katie. Great to be here. I'm happy to take care of this for you. Huh. Separation, a wall of separation. Joe Biden and they don't do anything. But they just are, I think they're working on the same team. There's no doubt about that as they communicate it to us. Welcome to the team. Great to be on the team. Now, what's different for us is because, normally, like if you're on the same team, you're going to use the same email address. Like if you work at the same organization or whatever, but she works for the president's office and he works for the other, Katie works for Hunter's son. So no separation at all. In fact, they don't even talk about that way. So more disgusting collusion there between Biden and his son's companies. These records further confirm never a wall between these two people. There was extensive commingling between them, hundreds of emails. America First Legal is going to continue to share on this, and you can go here to their website to read the rest of the productions. Shout out to the America First Legal team and their general counsel. Here's a statement from somebody who's hard at work on this, Gene Hamilton at America First Legal, af@legal.org. He says, these records provide even more evidence that no daylight existed between Hunter and the vice president. This evidence that is accumulating against the Biden family's malfeasance is staggering. America First will continue to put the pieces of this puzzle together and expose the truth to the American people. Signed by Gene Hamilton. Shout out to Gene Hamilton. Shout out to America First Legal and this outstanding work. On the same team, working from two different entities, America First Legal blowing the lid on all of that. And so the question is going to be, what are the Republicans going to do with this? They know it's out there. These are other entities getting this from FOIA requests. But what is our Congress getting and what is our Congress doing? This is the House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Jason Smith explaining his take on this, what they are up to.
So the big question for Congress moving forward is, are they going to start this impeachment inquiry? That's not an impeachment, but it's an inquiry to give you more power to actually issue subpoenas to get the documents that Congress wants. How do you see this playing out, and what is the problem and the challenge that you're going to have if the government isn't funded beyond September, the end of September?
Jason, we've said all along that we're going to follow the facts and see where they're leading. They're continuing to lead to President Biden. Moving towards an impeachment inquiry will help give us stronger tools to continue this investigation. Myself, Jim Jordan, and Jamie Comer have been stonewalled so many times by this administration, whether it's the Justice Department, the IRS, the FBI, and continuing to get more information and bringing people forward to answer questions that have to be answered. If funding is stalled, if there is a government shutdown, that would stop all of these investigations. That's absolutely the wrong thing. The American people deserve a government that's working for them, and we have to continue these investigations.
All right, so I can kind of hear where that's going. You want us to continue to send our letters. How much money do you need to type up and send a letter, for crying out loud? I mean, it's not that much work. I'll do it for you. Just let me know. If the government shuts down, I'll tell you what. We'll send the letters. We'll do it. We'll send the letters. No problem. We'll create them. happy to do it. But but that is not an excuse to stop the investigation. My government shutdown, panic again, like always. So we'll see if they actually do anything about it. An impeachment inquiry is, a good start. This is what Representative Comer had to say about it. He posted this over on the X. He said the following: the GOP oversight has followed the money. We've heard directly from the Biden family business partners. We've uncovered undeniable evidence of corruption at the highest levels of our government everywhere. It's disgusting. We aren't done. Americans deserve accountability, and POTUS won't get a free pass. This is Comer.
Well, Devin Archer is going to jail. So unfortunately, the transcribed interview is probably all we're going to get from Devin Archer. I predict Bob Alinsky will be in front of the House Oversight Committee within the next 4 weeks. We're working on a pretty substantive hearing in late September. He certainly has a very good chance of being a major part of that. And the other characters, Eric Sherwin and all the other people that were involved in some of the LLCs, we're going to try to have depositions with most of them. So
yeah, maybe Hunter
forward.
Biden.
Well, Hunter Biden's welcome to come to the Oversight Committee anytime. We'll drop everything and let him clear his good name if he wants. But thus far, the Biden attorneys have done nothing but block, obstruct, and intimidate. So I wouldn't expect to see Hunter Biden anytime soon, but he has an open invitation to come before the House Oversight Committee.
I want to read your statement. You claim that, quote, then Vice President Joe Biden abused Air Force Two by allowing his son to jet set around the world to enrich the Biden family. Another example of the VP abusing public office for his family's financial gain. Basically, that Hunter was riding shotgun with his dad on Air Force Two. Is the next step launching an impeachment inquiry in the House this September?
Well, that'll be Kevin McCarthy's decision, but I would predict that we'll have an impeachment inquiry in September. Look, I think our colleagues in the House realize that this is a serious offense.
We're in September now.
What the Bidens have been doing, they've been selling access to our federal government. We have a president that is more than likely compromised because of the millions of dollars he's taken from countries like China, Ukraine, and Russia. So I think there's overwhelming support now within our conference to move forward. But with these flight logs, look, Joe Biden hasn't been honest with the American people on a lot of things, right? Especially how many times his son flew on Air Force Two. What we're doing now, we have the bank records, emails. We have the communication, we have the sworn testimony from Devin Archer. Now we're putting a timeline together to see if, in fact, when Joe Biden visited some of these corrupt countries where they were wiring his family millions of dollars, was Hunter Biden on that plane? Did he want to be seen with his son and wink at the corrupt foreign nationals and say, look here, we're a team. This is a team. You wire that money to my son, you're wiring it to me. Wink, wink. Yep. Because that's what it appears has been going on, especially when he was vice president.
Okay, I've got to ask this because this has got to be part of the calculus. And you're one of the most prominent Republicans in the House, and you're close with Kevin McCarthy. What if the House does move forward? And again, we're 15 months away from Election Day. What if you move forward in the House, impeach Biden, fail in the Senate, rally Democrats around Biden, much like we're seeing with the Trump indictments, and help Biden get reelected in the process next fall? Is that part of the calculus?
Yeah, every single time Trump gets indicted, his poll numbers go up and everybody's rallying around him, and you don't want to cause that same reaction on the Democratic side. There's a phrase that when your enemy's falling down, get out of the way. If your enemy's making a fool of himself, you don't have to say much of anything. You just kind of have to sit there, kind of sit on your hands and let it go. And they're running around right now screaming about Ukraine and Bidenomics while the country's really feeling a pinch. So it is a good question. On the one hand, you want some action. You're kind of tired of the Republicans talking all the time, where, one side feels like it's getting knifed every morning with a new indictment or partisan prosecutor. What do we do now from the Republican side? And we've long said here, if the Republicans don't turn up the volume a bit, they're going to get muted out by the Dems.
Well, that's a concern. That's been the concern for many of the moderate Republicans all along. Look, when the Republicans impeached Clinton, they lost the majority. When the Democrats impeached Trump, they lost the majority.
Right.
So that's the legitimate concern. I know a lot of conservatives pull their hair out. Why isn't the House impeached Biden? Because in my opinion, he has committed multiple impeachable offenses. And the fact that his family has committed all these crimes, if he didn't know, like the media wants to say, then shame on him. Shame on him for letting them fly on Air Force Two, for letting them fly on Air Force One, for living in the White House. I think both of his adult children are living in the White House right now. I mean, this is unacceptable behavior by the leader of our country. So the one concern has been that these impeachments have consistently backfired on the party in power. So we're trying to be careful. My job isn't to impeach. My job is to get the facts to the American people. And it's like pulling teeth. But I think most people would agree about every 2 weeks, we disclose more information to the American people. 2 weeks ago, no one knew about the pseudonyms. No one knew there were 5,400 pseudonyms.
Yeah, why would you sign emails with a fake name, one of three fake names? No one's given me an answer to that, by the way, and nobody does it in their private life unless they're trying to hide something.
They're not really asking many questions about that either. You know, a lot of people have gone silent all of a sudden, like the Dan Goldmans, for example. He used to, well, Hunter and Devin came out. Remember, after the Devin release, he came out and he was really splicing different statements from Devin Archer to resituate those for his narrative. But now, you know, a lot of this evidence, it's like, oh, so why does he need 3 different pseudonyms in thousands of emails there? Dan, you want to explain that to us? You can't, because it is corruption. And you know it, we know it, everybody knows it. Now, we now have 1,000+ more emails from Rosemont Seneca, Hunter Biden, using his access for his business deals, no doubt about it. And we will continue to cover, my friends. Thank you for subscribing wherever you're watching this. Thank you for liking this video, and we'll see you the next time we get another drop on the Biden crime family. All right, and we've got one final segment on the day, my friends, and I know it's this guy. But we have to talk about it. We have to. It's too important not to. Adam Schiff now joins the chorus, says Donald Trump has to be removed from 2024 ballots, and he's not alone. This issue really does give me some concern because I feel like I can hear the volume slowly turning up, the frog in the boiling pot, they just keep amplifying the temperature slowly but surely, and people on both sides of this are now jumping in. Should Trump be removed under the insurrection clause under the 14th Amendment? We've talked about where this originated from. Some law professors wrote an article. It went over to Judge Ludwig, one of the same guys who testified in front of the fake January 6th Select Committee. That went to Lawrence Tribe, who's this so-called legal scholar, whatever, and he spread it around on MSNBC. It showed up in the Republican debates with Asa Hutchinson talking about removing Trump. Now we've got senators talking about it, and representatives and secretaries of state like Jocelyn Benson, who was very instrumental in Michigan in 2020. And we saw a lot of lawsuits here with her name on it. She's back and she's entertaining this concept. And so this is a very precarious thing that is happening. Now, Adam Schiff, before we listen to this clip from this guy, he went and hung out with Jen Psaki, you remember her, and they have a conversation about this, but it's very important to remember that Adam Schiff has been censured. Now, I want to be very transparent about this. You know, if we're going to be sharing a clip of him, it's important you know everything about the man. And only a few people in American history have ever been censured. Adam Schiff is one of them, which is really just a shameful thing. He should be very ashamed of himself, feel very bad, and because he's bad. And this is what he says.
Joining me now is Congressman Adam Schiff. He was an impeachment manager during Donald Trump's first impeachment trial.
Let's volume this up just a smidge. Jen Psaki needs to turn it up a little bit.
And was a member of the House Select Committee on January 6th. Congressman Schiff, thank you so much for joining me on Labor Day weekend.
Great to be with you.
Thanks, Jen.
You followed this all so closely, given all of your various roles on the in Congress. Were you all surprised as you were watching Mark Meadows' testimony of anything he had to say on Monday?
Not surprised so much by what he had to say as the fact that he said it at all, that he felt the need to take that gamble, that big gamble, by taking the stand. I think it's an indication both of the fact that he feels he needs some kind of a Hail Mary to escape a potential conviction, but also that if he were successful in removing the case to federal court, he has the potential to knock it out completely by arguing immunity. But, you know, listening to that testimony, reading what he had to say, I think it's a very weak case, both for removal, but also for immunity. If actions...
I don't think so. I think the judge is going to remove it. And I think we were seeing that pretty clearly in some of the filings last week, and they're petrified about the removal, so they say, because they say that Trump is not going to be in front of the cameras if it's removed to federal court. No, I don't think Trump cares about that at all. Trump is holding up his mugshot t-shirt like, yo, go to my website and buy one. So I don't think he cares about that. His polls go up every single time we get to see this corruption. And I, for one, would love to see Big Fani out there trying to make an opening argument. It would just be hysterical because we saw her press conference and that was also a joke. So it would be just a lot of fun to watch the whole thing just collapse in front of all of us. And I think the real reason they're concerned about the removal is because it would ultimately lead to the possibility of immunity that means Trump is innocent. And they would not like that to happen at all. That'd be pretty bad precedent. And if it's removed, it goes outside of Fulton County to the rest of the state, and you get a much bigger jury panel. And that is a much more favorable situation if you're a criminal defendant like Trump in a blue district. That's why they're freaked.
Of a chief of staff to try to subvert an election, to try to overturn an election, to try to defraud and violate the laws of a particular state are somehow within the job description of a federal chief of staff, then the Constitution becomes, in Justice Jackson's words, a suicide pact. And as he wrote in that dissent, that famous dissent, the Constitution is not a suicide pact. It shouldn't be interpreted in such a way as it.
They're so dramatic. They have the most colorful language. It's suicide because Mark Meadows went to go ask questions about what was happening in Georgia. Are you nuts?
Would negate itself. But I think he feels it necessary to take such a profound risk with his testimony.
Not risky.
Well, given, as you just said, a profound risk that he took by testifying for more than 4 hours, that now can all be used by other prosecutors. Did you hear anything that might be useful for Jack Smith and his team as they're working to put together their case in their case in prosecuting the federal election interference case?
You know, mostly the absurdity of the argument that he did this as part of his role in order to determine what further reforms might be necessary to election laws or to see that the election law was faithfully carried out. That, I think, will be very successfully mocked during the course of the trial. And it should be. It's absurd. But I think he was, by and large, pretty careful about what he was saying, using, repetitive words and phrases, no doubt, counseled by his attorney. But
yeah, they didn't get anything. And it's going to be very curious to watch if the trial actually does happen, how much stuff is just no longer in people's memory. People's memory starts to fade after a couple of years. And they've waited a couple of years to bring this case. And you might have an issue with that, but certainly the Democrats have that problem. Remember when Michael Sussman was being prosecuted for faking an entire hoax with the FBI, the Christopher Steele fake dossier? Well, when Mark Elias took the stand during that trial, Mark Elias, who's a very smart guy, went to good schools, had built an entire legal practice prosecuting Republicans and liberal causes, essentially, is an individual who just forgot a bunch of stuff when he was on the witness stand. And so Mark Meadows, I'm sure, is going to be able to do that too. It's going to be very difficult for people to remember things.
Just the absurdity of the argument, I think, will ultimately be used against him.
Yes, it's such a good point. It's worth telling everybody, reminding everybody, it is not your role as the White House Chief of Staff to work to overturn an election, to state the obvious. One of the things, Congressman, that stood out to me was when Meadows was asked directly by state prosecutors if he had any role in coordinating the fake electors. He said, "No, I did not." The prosecution then submitted into evidence an email that Meadows sent to Trump campaign advisor Jason Miller.
Now, I want to see the part where he's asked about. Let's see.
For president. Now, this hasn't been tested in our system before. Do you think, what is your thought on whether that's a valid argument?
14th Amendment. Legal scholars say Trump can be removed on their own. There's no due process. There's no trial. There's no case that happens. Secretaries of state, people who run elections in various states can just on their own decide to remove Trump off the ballot. Schiff, what do you say?
I think it is a valid argument. The 14th Amendment, Section 3 is pretty clear. If you engage in acts of insurrection or rebellion against the government, or you give aid and comfort to those who do, you are disqualified from running. It doesn't require that you be convicted of insurrection. It just requires that you have engaged in these acts. It's a disqualification from holding office again. And it fits Donald Trump to a T.
Look.
I think this will be tested when his Secretary of State either refuses to put him on the ballot or puts him on the ballot and is challenged by a litigant. I would imagine it will go up to the Supreme Court. And
so it is going to happen, okay? A Secretary of State is either not going to put Trump on a ballot, and Trump or the RNC or somebody's going to have to sue to get on it, or he's going to get on it and he's going to be sued to be removed off of it. And we're going to go to Jocelyn Benson in Michigan next. She might be a prime candidate for option one.
That's the big question mark through all of this, which is, what will the Supreme Court do? There are prominent constitutional scholars as well as prominent progressive scholars who believe that he should be disqualified. But will the court take that step? Ultimately, only time will tell. But I do think it is a very legitimate issue. By the clear terms of the 14th Amendment, he should be disqualified from holding office.
Congress is not returning for a couple of weeks.
Amazing. So they don't want you to even have the option. They want Trump to be removed by some people like this woman who just decide on their own, this is what we need to do to save American democracy. You don't get the right to vote in order to save America. This is Jocelyn Benson, the Secretary of State from Michigan. She was very active in 2020. We covered many lawsuits with her name here, and her entity as a Democrat, right, her Secretary of State's office was sued by other Democratic groups, and then they would settle the case and they would have better voting terms for the Democrats. And this all happened during COVID, and they used the COVID excuse to make these changes. Democrat sues a Democrat, they settle. Oh, you're right. Our laws are racist or whatever. They're discriminatory because of COVID. And then they would settle the case, change the rules. After the election would happen, people would challenge what they changed. Too late, election's over. So remember, even if Trump is removed, let's say he's removed and they can't get it settled before an election or something, right? Sometimes they don't even care about what happens in the litigation, as long as they can just create an environment that is more favorable for them to win. So it's not about the outcome of the legal case. It's about what they are able to create in the environment during the pendency of the legal case. And if this is just about even just, causing Trump legal fees and money, he's got to hire lawyers to put him back on the ballot, to take him off the ballot, or to defend against taking him off the ballot. And so it is just continued lawfare, even if it is never successful. But I think that people like this, Jocelyn Benson, are going to try to do it. They'll be heroes to the Democrats. They'll probably get promotions, and they might cause a shift in the election themselves.
As the election interference probes into former President.
So here is Tim Kaine, a senator, also on board with this.
Purpose at a particular moment, and that was to disrupt the peaceful transfer of power as is laid out in the Constitution. So I think there's a powerful argument to be made. My sense is it's probably going to get resolved in the courts. But, I think what we have to focus on our side is we just got to win in 2024.
Yeah, you just got to win, and they'll do whatever it takes to win because that's the kind of people they are. So this is Jocelyn Benson, and she is the Secretary of State from Michigan, somebody who is going to be making a lot of these decisions in 2024. Here's what she says about this amendment.
Well, thanks for having me. I think this is a critical issue. It's an issue that is not going to go away anytime soon, and it's one we have to, and we are taking very seriously, because the arguments for disqualification are quite strong. That said, there are counter arguments on the other side that recognize really the unprecedented moment that we're in, and the timing of disqualification, and the question of who exactly makes that determination. What is an insurrection or rebellion? What is giving aid or comfort? So all of that has really never been answered before, and it's never been answered by the courts. And that's why I do think that while election officials may make a determination on this issue, it will ultimately be resolved by the U.S. Supreme Court.
And is this something that you, in particular, your office in particular, would have to wade into when it comes to putting names on the ballot in the state of Michigan? And have you made any kind of determination at this point? Are you going to insert yourself into this and make that determination?
Well, we're going through this in a very methodical way, talking to legal scholars on all sides of the spectrum and really fleshing out all of the particulars. And I'm also in close contact with my colleagues in Nevada and Pennsylvania and Georgia and New Hampshire,
all the other
because we want to get this right. We recognize the weightiness of this decision. We recognize the importance of...
They're colluding and organizing their plan for what they're going to do so that they have some safety in numbers.
Our role as state officials in this moment. And we also have this ongoing question of timing. There's a decision about who gets on the primary ballot that will be made this fall in most states. But then there will be a secondary decision point if indeed this candidate is nominated by the Republican Party next summer. And so we also, are seeing this unveil or evolve at the same time. These court proceedings are also evolving. So all of it has lots of variables, lots of moving pieces, but it requires us to take put serious attention into it, and that's what we're doing. We'll also likely ask our Attorney General to weigh in. And again, we're in conversation with others as well to see and to know where everyone else is at in terms of their own state law interpretation.
Yeah, so they're going to write a giant book report. They're going to come up with a big binder of garbage, and we did a lot of research on this, and I'm really sorry to say this, but after extensive consultation with our Attorney General, numerous legal scholars, Encyclopedia Britannica, Wikipedia. I also called Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, and they said it's a good idea. George Soros told me to. But I've done my research. The law is very clear. And I'm actually extremely sorry and saddened to say this today. But we have concluded that Trump did, in fact, commit an insurrection and have made the tragic decision to address this unprecedented situation in our nation's history. We've made the decision to remove Trump from the ballot so that this never happens again. Never happens again. Unprecedented context, historical moment, blah, 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 right? All of it. And then they're just going to refer to their big binder. They're going to say, scholar, and then they're going to just collude together. And they're going to do it. Look how excited she is. She's almost thrilled about it. She looks happy.
And, okay, so it sounds like this is a work in progress. Is there a timeline at all as to when you might want to come up with an answer on this and make that kind of judgment call?
Yeah. ASAP.
Well, Nevada is the state that will be making the first determination on in early October as to who goes on their primary or caucus ballot.
October.
And then Michigan and other states follow in November. And usually the process is determined for us in Michigan throughout November and finalized in December in terms of who's on the primary ballot. And there's another wrinkle as well in terms of how court cases resolve this and the timing of the actual printing of the ballots. If a court were to rule someone ineligible, how does that impact the printing of the ballots and all these other details we have to consider? So it's a tight timeline, and that's why we really need the courts to engage and resolve this for all of us sooner rather than later. And so I think you can anticipate you'll see a lot of things happen over the next several months on this, with all of us recognizing that we may go through this a second time as court cases play out, as perhaps convictions get handled down, and perhaps is there a primary nomination process next summer through the conventions that we have to have an eye on as well.
Yep. So they're going to wait until Trump gets a conviction, and then any conviction, this is why they need the convictions to happen before the election. They need to get anything on the books. Any criminal conviction as a felony, well, maybe not any, but definitely the January 6th case. If they can get any Georgia or DC, which are both going to happen soon, any conviction, and arguably even a conviction of anybody else in the Trump orbit, okay? So either 18 other co-defendants in Georgia, if even one of them gets a conviction, I think that they'll have the excuse, the cover to say, oh, no, look, I mean, clearly there was an insurrection, there was a conviction, and they may have a split in the courts, and if the Supreme Court adheres to the 2020 standard, which is we don't get involved in your state election garbage, right? Just we're going to stay out of it. You guys do what you want, which is basically what they did. Then Trump might not be on the ballot, right? You can just see how they're gaming it out. And she's telling you exactly what's happening here. She's walking us through it, saying a conviction might lead to something that the RNC decides to boot Trump. Maybe he's not even the nominee, right? Or a conviction is for a J6 event, which means we can keep him off the ballots and so on. They're gearing up for it. They're not going to let him just get on the ballot. Are you kidding?
And yesterday, we spoke with conservative journalist David Frum, who was
all right. So that is Jocelyn Benson from the state of Michigan. And they are going, my friends. You can just see it. She's almost like salivating, exciting about it. Let me talk about what we're working on. It's their biggest project between now and 2024. And the reason they're doing all of this, the reason why they don't want him to be on the ballot is because they're freaked out, man. They're concerned that he's going to win and that their candidate is like a sack of potatoes and he can't even speak or campaign. They recognize Trump is leading a movement and it is causing some serious consequences and concerns for them. Even Donna Brazil talks about this on ABC.
But I have to say something because, George, I'm old enough to say this. I've seen two movements outside of...
Let me fix that volume here. We had it a little high for the Psaki show, but let's fix this back up.
The social... But I have to say something because, George, I'm old enough to say this. I've seen two movements outside of the social justice movements in my life on the political side. One was the Reagan movement. Reagan had a hold on his base, the country at large. They saw him as someone who was willing to stand up for American values, whatever that might have meant. Now, I thought it was reactionary. The other movement I saw was Barack Obama, hope and change. That galvanized the American people.
Yeah, how'd that work
I've
out?
never seen anything like this with Donald Trump.
Whoa.
I mean, what doesn't kill you make you stronger? I mean, being convicted, being indicted, that's making him stronger. Raising $10 million using an ugly mugshot to raise money. This is a movement. And anyone who thinks that you can apply the old political rules to trying to defeat this candidate based on he's scary, he's ugly, whatever you might want to call him, this is a movement. And we have to respect the fact that it's a movement.
It is a movement. Trump looks handsome as hell, I think. He looks fabulous. One of the best mugshots I've ever seen, if not the best mugshot I've ever seen. So it is a pretty interesting admission here, saying this is a movement, and we can't use the old playbook. Did you hear she said that? Of course they can't, because they'll lose. Just like they had to do in 2020, to have the CIA and a bunch of people rig everything. Now they're going to do it again, or attempt to do it again. Old political playbook out the window, new political playbook. Democrats steal your right to vote away from you by taking your candidate off the ballot because they're petrified they're going to lose. Pathetic. My friends, we'll continue to cover here. Thank you for subscribing and liking this video wherever you're watching it, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one. All right, my friends. Well, that is it for us on this lovely, lovely Labor Day. And I'm grateful that you joined us. I hope you're having a beautiful, beautiful day. We covered some good ground. We had Adam Schiff and the Democrats, including Jocelyn, say it's time to go. Trump has to get off the ballot. 1,000+ emails, including emails from Rosemont Seneca directly to the office of the vice president saying, welcome to the team, to people who work in the office of the vice president, to Rosemont Seneca, to the Hunter crime family team. Disgusting behavior there. And we know that Big Fani seems to be hiding exculpatory evidence in the form of a transcript that clearly shows there was no intentionality whatsoever at all for the alternate electors to be usurping any election. In fact, they were just following Democratic precedent from 1960 in Hawaii. And so, my friends, we got to see what's happening out there. Now, tomorrow, I'm sure is going to be a busy, busy day when the courts open back up and we get some updates on some other cases and whatnot. But now, let's hear from you on this lovely Memorial Day. We're going to go over to our members-only after party on Locals, watchingthewatchers.locals.com as soon as we're done here to hang out for a little bit. And so I hope you join us. But before we get over there, let's say hello. Thank you to K. Bean and Zach in the house for clipping for us today. And we got some comments. Thank you, everybody, for sending in these lovely donos in the house. This one came in from Catherine Rex. What's up, Catherine? Says, Bidenomics is not working at a second job. Oh, man, Catherine. It's not working, man. It's not working. And hopefully we see a change coming very soon. Hopefully a lot of people are feeling, kind of what you're feeling, the frustration, and that causes the people who need to wake up so we get some good turnouts at the polls. But thanks for joining us here on this lovely Labor Day. Catherine Rex. Let's see. All right. And who else do we have in the House? We got Jekyll says, should play the Georgia election audit vid I sent you, Rob. I'll take a look at it. I'm not sure I remember which one you're talking about, but thanks, Jekyll. We got this one from Lay, says, why isn't anyone holding all these lawyers, judges, and DAs accountable for breaking the law and Constitution with these erroneous charges? Thank you, Robert. I appreciate what you're doing from Lay. Thank you, Lay. Says, well, so I think the Republicans are kind of on board with this. I mean, Kemp in Georgia is not interested in doing anything about it. We had the one senator, Senator Colton Moore from Georgia, who wanted to open up a special emergency session in Georgia to bring some other Georgia politicians to come put pressure on Big Fani. They're talking about impeaching Big Fani and so on, but nobody wants to do it. I think a lot of people are kind of okay with the prosecution of Trump. I would say the people in positions of power are okay with that. They want him to go away. And I think this is a big problem because it's like, it reminds me of, in a game, it's like you'd rather see your team lose than see someone else get the starting position ahead of you, right? Like there are people like that in this world. And I think there's a lot of Republicans like that. Well, if Trump's going to win, I'd rather not win at all. And the other side of this, right, the federal cases, who's going to prosecute or investigate the, Jack Smith or the Bidens? It's the Republicans. So it's just the answer is standard political lack of will, ineptitude, incompetence. I don't know. There's a lot of reasons. But thank you, Lee. Lee or Lay. Thank you, Lee. We have this one from Rocky Water. What's up, Rocky? On Locals. Rob, mint stuff as always. Thanks. Though I'm technically not watching from work today, what with the holiday and all. It is a paid holiday. So here's today's VIG. Thanks, Rocky. Thanks, Rocky. But seriously, folks, great content as always. Appreciated. Keep a shine in that spotlight. Thank you, Rocky. Thanks for being here, my man. And thanks for joining us on this lovely Labor Day. Paid holidays better than unpaid, that's for sure. Rocky says, who's Jillian Duty? Is that perhaps Obama's email pseudonym? That's a good question. I don't know who that is. Yeah, and I kind of got hung up on that when we were doing the read. I was like, who is that? And we didn't have her email, so I didn't know if she was with Rosemont or with the executive office of the vice presidency. What I would suspect is, and I don't think I made this point, but what I would suspect is that she's with Rosemont because her email is, we don't see the email address, right? It's actually just like it's pre-filled out. You know what I'm saying? Like here. So like we can see Katie Dodge's email because it's from, but it's to Jillian Duty and to Carrie. And then, well, maybe that's not right. Yeah, so I can't tell. Is Jillian, email gurus out there, does this mean that Jillian and Eric are on the same domain? So like they're all at Rosemont Seneca, if it just automatically fills it? Or does it just mean that like you've emailed that person before? This looks like what, Outlook or something? So my question is Jillian with Rosemont, or is Jillian with the executive office of the vice presidency, or is she with somebody else? I don't know. But ultimately, I don't think it's too consequential. But I mean, who is she? I don't know. Maybe she works for Obama. Maybe it is Obama. Glenn Croy says Salty Army loves watching the Watchers. Whee! Shout out to the Salty Army. Good to see you guys in the house. And Glenn, thanks for being a member for 5 months and for joining us over here as well. Good to see you. We have this one from Glenn. 5 membos, bringing in courtesy of Glenn Croy. Thanks, Glenn. And here's who we've got. We got Scarlet C's coming in, Dr. Phil, Bong Donkey, MM, Mitch M, and Joan K is coming in, courtesy of Glenn Croy. Thank you, Glenn. What a nice invite on this lovely Labor Day. We've got Nikki Perez says, Robert, you are the best YouTube find ever. God plus the USA. Thank you, Nikki. I agree with that. God plus the USA, American flag, and prayers. Thanks, Nikki. A member for 6 months. Woo, 2/3 of a baby, almost there. We got Troublemaker Jonah says, I agree with Adam Schiff. The 14th Amendment is pretty clear. It does not apply to the president as it does not mention the president. Well, these are not really law people. They're not really law people. I think they're just kind of beat Trump no matter what it takes and will shatter all historical precedent to do it. Rocky Water says, hey, Rob. What's up, Rocky? We got Adesia. Says, great show, Rob. Thank you, Adesia. Good to see you over on Locals. Thanks for joining us. Here's Rocky. Says, hey, look out. What? Feds? All right. We had this one from Troublemaker Jonah. Says, unless the co-equal branch is not worth mentioning, then you don't mention them. And there's a lot of that going on. Kind of like the executive branch is just the executive branch and they can just do whatever the heck they want to do. God, hashtag, then everything else, hashtag for life. Good to see you, God. Hashtag, then everything else for life. These people are just making it up as they go along. I think you're right about that, actually. I think they have got a big plan in place, but like with Judge Chutkan, for example. Okay, she just made that up. And she needed a fake excuse to justify a trial setting in March, which is insane. And the fake excuse, the fake because, was the highlighters and the Post-it notes. Oh, government, you guys did a really great job. It's nicely organized. Incredible. So that way, you organized 12 million pages, 10 Washington monuments. Congratulations. Right? That's making it up. But I think the long-term plan is just keep Trump off the ballot at all costs. And this reminds me, there was that one article. Remember after 2020, the Time released that article, like If We Did It type of a thing. It was like the OJ version of elections. And they released that. And they told us the whole plan. Like they had riots or protests prepared, all sorts of stuff prepared. So I do think that there's probably like an anti-Trump war room of people that is out there. But then when it gets down, like the tactics, when it gets down to what's going on in court, yeah, they're just whatever. Judges just say, well, whatever. Hey, Chris is here. What's up, Chris? This is new. I haven't seen this emoji over here. Interesting, Chris. Thank you for that one. And looks like that dude is kind of hanging on a Labor Day. Very nice. Pickle jars for Hillary. Says, democracy is the DNC telling us who we can't vote for. Don't you feel free, pickle jars? I feel free. Having to think about who to vote for, it's very dangerous these days. I might come across some disinformation and be hacked by the Russians. So I better let the Democrats decide for us. Troublemaker Jonah says, worthy of Article 1, Section 14th, all other good. All other. You're saying that exonerates the president? In other words, all other officials rather than the president? That's an interesting take, Troublemaker. There'll be a lot of those arguments when these lawsuits happen. Catherine's here, says, Fani, money laundering scheme. Have you seen that? Fani money laundering scheme. Have you seen that? Yeah, well, I was thinking that she maybe has not seen it because Fani has been sitting on the evidence. Get it? Big Fani's been sitting on the evidence. All right, I'm proud of myself on that one. 51K is here, says, did you see that Big Fani has some possible campaign finance violations? I did see that. I saw that. The Gateway Pundit, I think, posted a guest post on that. Same scheme that O'Keefe did a story on, a PAC named Act Blue donating under elderly people names sometimes 20 times a day. Yeah, I think the money trails are totally corrupted. And I think this has been a problem for years. I remember Obama was doing the same crap. Remember Obama was just taking money without verifying where the money was coming from? And it was like overseas money and he paid like a couple $100,000 fine or something. It's like big deal. But he made millions. They've been doing this for a long time. And I'm sure Fani's a part of it. I think it's kind of that Soros operation, team of people. Debbie O says Jillian Duty was and is a federal employee. Debbie, thank you for looking that up in the House. So she was also at the Office of the Vice Presidency and then Education. Amazing, Debbie. Thank you for looking that up. So Jill Duty, this email to Jill Duty right here from Katie to Jill is somebody who works at the White House. Hey, Jillian, hope you have a great summer. Eric tells me you moved up. Congratulations, meaning she got a job at the White House. Please see the request below. It's important to have Hunter letter written. Let me know if there's someone else I should send it to. Jillian says, I'm not writing the letter. Carrie's the correspondence director. I'm bringing Carrie in. Thank you both. Welcome to the team, Carrie. You're on team Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. Welcome aboard. Gross. All right. And so thanks for looking that up, Debbie. Very interesting. Good to know. We had this one from Lee. Thank you, Lee, for correcting me. That's what I thought it was. Yeah, Lee. Thank you for correcting me. Sorry I had to drop another tip to correct my mispronunciation here, but I appreciate it. Lee in the house. I appreciate that. Thank you for sending that in. I try to get them right, you know. Chris is here. What's up, Chris? Welcome as a supporter. Good to have you, my friend. And so normally during regular kind of weekdays when it's not a holiday, we do member-only morning streams in the morning. We're not going to do that today. I'm going to get out of here this afternoon, try to get outside. But it is something we really try to deliver for our members. We do Saturday shows. We just did movie night, and we do morning shows generally through the week. And so we'd love to have you join us. Chris, you're joining us. My YouTube friends, thank you for joining us. And thank you, everybody, for that very generous support on this lovely, lovely Monday. Let's see what's happening over on the X before we go over to our members-only after party. If you're a YouTube member, on YouTube, you can navigate over to the community tab section. And, oh, what is this? Oh, Twitter wants me to boost my business. Look at this. Boost your business. Can't afford that, I don't think. I think it's $1,000 a month. That's expensive, Elon. Who do you think we are? All right. So here is what we've got over on the X. And who do we have in the house? We got 8 people. Oh my gosh, it's a Monday miracle. All right, let's see. I see Fred Pedamonte says, America First Legal is Stephen Miller. Brilliant guy. Yeah, that was some really good work that I saw them do. TJ King says, Democrats are latching on to Nixon's remark as he presided over the Electoral College that the Hawaii motion would not be considered precedent. But that's irrelevant if the GA electors believed it was precedent. It also undercuts Dem narrative that the VP role is purely ceremonial. Yeah, and I understand that point. Thank you for saying that, TJ King. I didn't know what their response to this was, but that's an interesting response. So they said Nixon stood up there and he's like, well, this isn't precedent. Well, so what? It was still within his decision making it authority. And did they change? Here's my question. Did they change the rules after Nixon or not? In other words, was Mike Pence could have done the same thing that Nixon did, right? Theoretically. And that's why they needed to have that alternate slate still there. So it doesn't matter what Nixon said, as long as Pence could have done the same thing Nixon could have. And even regardless of that, right? I think you still want those done. You still want those alternate electors in place, but except for now, I would imagine. Even now, like I wonder if there will be alternate electors because they were just nominees, right? Like they were just votes and candidates for it in place. If the vote came back and said, yeah, your team won, who do you nominate as the electors? Hey, perfect. We've got our whole slate right here, ready to go. D's over on the X says, love the way you keep us all posted. Thank you, D. I appreciate you. And thanks for joining us. Couldn't do it without you guys. Misty's here, says, and Governor Kemp is complicit. Don't think Georgians aren't watching. Pap Pup Mom says, thank you for what you do, Rob. Thank you, Pap Pup, for being here. We have Maddie Pause says, Robert puts the fun in reading boring court documents with a legal flair. Doesn't matter which side of the aisle you're on. Legal truth is legal truth. And Robert puts the exclamation on it. Thank you for that one. From Muddy Paws. Spambino says, is this precedent or not? Trump scores a victory. Judge rules false election statements while in office are covered by presidential immunity. So is this precedent? Yeah, I mean, it is. It's not binding. It is precedent. Okay, so Philadelphia County Court of Common Pleas, Judge Michael Erdwas said that Trump was protected in a suit filed by an election worker. Okay, so this would have been a civil lawsuit, right? So it sounds like it's a civil lawsuit. So civil immunity is different. Now, civil immunity, I think you can find in the Nixon case out of Supreme Court. So that would be other precedent. So I want to make sure we're not conflating civil cases and criminal cases. So this sounds like civil case, which would not be precedent to the criminal case, which might be what you're actually asking about. All right, my friends, And so those came in over on the X. Shout out to our friends on the X. We'd love to see you guys over there. We've got our friends on Rumble. A job well done. We got Dr. Pyrostein, Fully Persuaded, Bigley's over there. Shout out to Fully Persuaded. We got Gisto. We got Southie's over there. Good to see my Rumble friends. And of course, that appears like it is it for us, my friends, on the day. I think we had a couple donos come in. We did. Hey, here's Rocky Water. Let's see what else we got before we wrap it up. Rocky says, Rob, Lee brings up an important point. When did people in the U.S. start pronouncing height as height? Bothers the heck out of me. Yeah, height. People say that, right? Height? What's the height? Yeah, it's a good point, Lee and Rocky. Sometimes I try to get it right, but sometimes I goof it up. Lee's here. Thank you, Lee. Says, haha, you're welcome. Thank you, Lee. So fun. Thank you for that. Words Mean Things is here. Says Robert Robert, which an actual law professor called me that one time. Totally seriously. She's like, she was calling attendance. She's like, Robert? And I swear, like the whole row in front of me turned around and looked at me. And they go, is that you? I go, I think so. I said, I think I'm here. But the name's Robert, though. She's like, oh, Robert. Oh, yeah, it is Robert. It was like a hysterical thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is happening right now? She was a substitute professor. It was hilarious. Okay, Words Mean Things says, it seems to me that this is supposed to be a holiday of sorts, Rob. Kick back, chill, and relax. But in spite of that, you have seen fit to subject us to Jen Psaki, Adam Schiff, and Donna Brazil. I appreciate that you didn't add Karine Jean-Pierre into the mix. Unless you did that in the very beginning of the stream before I got here. But really, what gives? Well, I'm trying to rile you up on this Labor Day, Words. I'm trying to make sure that you understand what's happening out there. I'm sorry I had to do that, but it's for our own good. If they're out there speaking, somebody's got to be watching them, and that's exactly what we're doing. So the good news is, Words, is we did it early in the morning, so hopefully you have a few hours to recover, and I don't know what it's going to take to wash that out. I don't know what I'm going to do. I mean, gosh, I don't know, probably dunk my head in an ice bath or something. I don't know. But thanks, Words. Thanks for the dono. We had this one from K Bean. Says, did Fani commit a Brady violation? So I think that's probably going to be, well, alleged. Yeah, I think so. What I would say is that stuff is definitely exculpatory. So here's the thing, K Bean. I don't know if this was disclosed or not. So I don't know if she gave that to the defense or hid that from the defense. But my guess is she didn't present any of this to the grand jury, and she's certainly not communicating any of it, publicly. All of this is being ignored in her excuse. So I don't know if she's disclosed it or not, but a Brady violation would be like if you knew about it and you didn't disclose it. And so that would be a different situation, but I don't know that that's happening here. This could be other ethical problems, misconduct, prosecutorial misconduct, other problems, but may not be a Brady violation yet. Could be. We'll see. If she doesn't disclose stuff like that, I would certainly say that it's exculpatory and it should have been disclosed, and she didn't. And so I would ask, for repercussions as a result of that. But we'll see. We're still so early in these cases because they are, we haven't even really gotten to a lot of the substantive stuff yet. It's mostly just been right now removal and scheduling, timing and all that stuff. So great question, K Bean. And thank you for clipping for us today and keeping things nice and orderly in the House. B-Man says the Presidential Records Act is different from vice presidential records. I'm sure, yeah, but they're not also covered. It's an entirely different act than the Presidential Records Act. It doesn't. I don't know where the distinctions are between the two, but I would imagine, yeah, that the presidential records would be a little bit different than the vice presidential records because they have different powers. But thank you, B-Man. Thanks for sending that in and filling in the gaps for us here. I appreciate you. And we had one more from Robert John. Says, Rob, it will be interesting if we have lockdowns, the Republicans counter. Do you think that they're going to try to do that again? Man, I've been talking to some people about this, and I'm like, man, what do you think? Are they going to lock us down again? And everybody's like, we're not believing that. We're not doing that crap again, right? I don't think the country's down for that. I don't think that's going to be happening. Last time there was a different vibe, for sure. Like last time people were a little bit freaked out. People were thinking about it. Now if they're like, oh, new COVID, I don't think anybody's going to, that sense of panic and urgency is just not there anymore, I don't think. So we'll see. But anyways, thank you, my friends. Very generous donos. I'm very grateful for all of your support. Couldn't do it without you. So thanks for joining us on this lovely Monday. We are going over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We're going to hang out a bit and chat, go through some additional comments and debrief everything we talked about here. I think we've got Jake Sullivan's in the house. I saw him over there, so we'll see what he has to say. And so, my friends, we'd love it if you joined us. Watchingthewatchers.locals.com. Come check us out. YouTube members, you can join us on Telegram. Just make sure you go over to Telegram, get the link from the community post section on YouTube. Field of Greens is a great place to stay healthy. Get your Field of Greens and a bunch of other good stuff at fieldofgreens.com. Code Robert at checkout. Also want to thank the mods and the meme smiths who mod down the fort for us and keep things nice and orderly. Shout outs to our friend Nathan, N810, Geegum, our friend Sleepy Dog Lee, John McGarvey, Donut Mind Me, Dog Digger, Janik 909, our friend John Allen, Zach Nichols, Beyond Geo Stars, we got Zulus in the house, Arani Cole, Playin' Hooky, our friend Just Cause, K-Bean, and Vienticus Prime, all keeping this show nice and tidy and orderly. And thanks to Zach and to K-Bean for clipping us for us here today. I very much appreciate that. But my friends, we are going over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com. I'd love to see you there, but if not, I hope you have a beautiful rest of your Labor Day. It is a lovely, lovely Monday. And of course, things are going to open back up and be back and busy tomorrow, and we'll be back here at the same time, regular schedule, to attend to it all again. And I hope to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful Labor Day, my friends, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.